the best designers, some of the most talented people in this country. Creating. One time I was invited to be the director of marketing for MTV Networks and take over all the marketing around the world. And the temptation there was to do something I didn't really believe in. I thought, well, this would be a cool job. But I was still wary enough that I thought, I don't want to get in a position where I'm doing something I don't believe in. And from that time on, I've walked away from a lot of job opportunities because I didn't believe in it. And now with Burning Media Group, the things Nicholas and I and our team are doing, we do things, we pray to God, do things we really believe in. Because we want to be change agents for the good. We want to do things, we want to help tell stories, powerful stories for organizations like this. I think this is one of the greatest stories in the United States today, what's happening in this room right here. Your mentors, your leaders, this kind of influence, this kind of discipleship. I think this is one of the greatest stories. And yet, look what's happening in our media today. How many people are hearing these stories? Brothers, how many young men today need hope, need fellowship, need friendship, need mentoring, need opportunities like this? Look at the cool things you guys get to do. Look at the opportunities that the coach and your leaders are thinking up all the time. You are some of the wealthiest young men in America today. And I can tell you there are young people today who have all the material resources they'd ever need. And you know what? They're aching. They're cutting themselves. They have no sense of being loved. They have families that give them everything they want, but not the things they need most. Guys, this is a treasure. What you have here today in the relationships you're building with each other, with your mentors, with these, and the youngest of you especially, this is new to you. I know that life isn't easy, and we all have different challenges. But this is what God is doing in your lives. And you are going to be the men who are going to lead many other people in this country. We are in a leadership crisis in this country today. People don't trust their leaders. Poll after poll, survey after survey tells us again and again, they don't trust the people because these people want power. And if people simply, as Lord Acton said, power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. What is it that's going to change in our lives? What is it that's going to build the kind of relationships that are going to rebuild this country? And we are going to have to rebuild this country. The world is looking for men like you. The world is looking for women and families and the kind of influence you're going to have. This is the thing that's going to change the world. These photos are just an example of something that I heard General Boykin talk about last night. And he talked about the power of the church. He said, if anything's going to change this country, it's the church. And Nick put these photos together because you can go to the next one. I don't know who's got the ability. Like, all I wanted to illustrate here was that the church, when we think of the church, we think of these beautiful buildings or simpler buildings. You can go to the next one. That's not a magnificent building. It's a serviceable building, functional building. There was a time where in the Middle Ages, people would spend their entire lives to build a structure that wouldn't even be finished in a lifetime. It would take multiple lifetimes for these great cathedrals. I hope you get to see them someday. But the important thing isn't ultimately the architecture. That's nice seating. That's even bigger. That must be a Jesus Culture concert or something, larger scale. Hillsong. This is the church. This is the architecture of something that's more beautiful than anything we could build with our hands. Brothers, I love this photo, Nick. This is relationship. This is care. You just get a feeling this is earnest prayer for someone. In my mind, that's the architecture of the church. Now, where does the word church come from? That's an interesting word. Word church comes from kirka. The kirka comes from another word, ekklesia. And the Greek word for ekklesia means we are called out. We're called out of this world system to live with a different mindset, a different story, a different narrative in our hearts and minds. Listen, guys, You're tripart creatures like our Creator. Body, soul, and spirit. What's the soul? What's the soul? That's great, Aiden. Aiden, will you travel with me? I'll tell you. You're on your A game, Aiden. It influences our choices because the soul is the mind, will, and emotions. That's the battleground, guys, for all of us. Our mind, will, and emotions. What's the difference between mentoring? Mentoring is something you get from someone who's experienced and what? What's a mentor? Besides, not just a boss, not just a trainer, what's a mentor? That's great. A mentor is someone who's been where you're going and can help you avoid mistakes along the way. Right back there, stand up and give us your name.
Somebody who's going to help you lead to the future and educate you on your mistakes and try to make your life much better.
Excellent. Yes, Romeo.
A man of wisdom who can help you out through life and who has strong responsibilities and can teach you different things in life that can make you a stronger leader man.
Outstanding. When is your first book coming out, Romeo? Sir.
Josh, a mentor is somebody you can form a relationship with who has your best interest at heart.
That's right, Keontae. We got leadership training from one of the great leaders in our country last night. What a privilege, huh?
My name's Hunter. A mentor is somebody that's willing to sow certain things into you so that you can reap the blessings.
Absolutely. Anybody else? These are all great definitions. Right back there at the back. Yes, sir.
A mentor.
Give us your name, too.
Can't tell them. You say a mentor.
Yes.
A mentor is a father figure, but it's not really a father. They help train people become a young man and successful in life. He educates you.
Wow. Thank you. Next to him.
My name is Elijah. A mentor is a teacher and a friend and somebody you can count on to help you when you aren't having the brightest of days and knows what you are going through and what you have been through because they've done the same exact thing before.
Thank you. One more. Sir.
My name is Elijah, and our mentor holds you accountable.
Excellent. Well, this is going exactly where I wanted to go. I really want to talk about discipleship because mentoring leads to discipleship. And what's that extra ingredient, Coach, that makes mentoring discipleship? Paul says in 2 Timothy 2:2, that which you've heard from me in the presence of many witnesses, impart to faithful ones who will teach others also. Do you know what's happening there? What's happening there? 4 different generations of transmission. That which you've heard from me, Paul speaking, in the presence of many witnesses, that's the second audience. Impart to faithful ones, that's the third level of audience, who will be able to teach others also. This only works when we are faithfully investing our lives in other people. Am I right, Coach? That's the only way it works. And the church today would be the dominant influence in the world. It's still the Christian faith is the largest religion in the world. But we would have an even more righteous, godly, loving world if we did one thing well. And that's what's going on right here. Investing our life. You have an expectation and responsibility to invest what you're learning here to another generation, don't you? As well as an audience of contemporaries and people with each other. It's 4 generations of transmission. That's discipleship. That's discipleship. Well, having gone through, I think there's one more. Thanks, Chris. Look at this. Prayer in the battlefield. Do you remember what General Boykin said last night? Nick and I had the privilege last night of staying up really late talking to the general and hearing more personal stories from him, and what an extraordinary man. His whole vision today is to sow into the lives of others. And when you think about service, when you think about what the disciplines are, discipleship is mentoring with love and discipline. And that's what this whole journey is about, gentlemen, and ladies who are here with us. That's the whole journey, that we're on this journey together. So, after spending a career on creating images, creating ideas, creating brands, creating stories, creating narratives, telling people that all of these products and services, we would do studies. We'd commission studies for tens of thousands of dollars. We've commissioned studies for $100,000 and more. I'll tell you, one of the funniest studies I ever read was a study on how to get C-level officers at the top of corporate America to pay attention to your messages. After we'd spent over $100,000, do you know what we found out? Here's a $100,000 secret. I'm going to say it once. You got your pens ready? $100,000. You want to reach somebody of significance today? And it's truer today than ever before. I'll bet some of the business leaders and coaches can tell you what it is. You want to get someone's attention? This is what $100,000 research showed us. Write them a personal, handwritten letter, and write personal on the front of the stamped envelope. Or better still, have it hand-delivered. That's how you get the attention of some of the most important, hard-to-reach people in the world today. Isn't that fascinating and just common sense for some of us that still know how to write letters? Now, what did the general, what one of the most decorated, one of the most heroic guys I've ever met tell you last night? Learn to write, not just text. Learn to write. Learn that skill. Become communicative. Coaches said this. How many times have we heard this? Your communication skills, the way you present yourself, the way you think, the way you discipline your actions, the way you convey your ideas will distinguish you as a leader. And if you don't know how to do that and you're a politician, you hire a speechwriter. I'm not kidding. Look, I want to make sure we have time for Q&A. There's so much in the journey of life I'd have to share with you. One of the things that happened to me that's really funny after I got the Lord just delivered me. Boom. No Betty Ford, no 12-step program, no rehab. Boom! Guys, how many of you know God can do miracles? That's His specialty. Willing to do miracles, where's the missing link? Ye have not because ye ask not. Ye ask and receive not because ye ask wrongly to waste it on your passions. But faith cometh by hearing. Anybody know this? Romans 10:17. And hearing by the word of God. You want to grow in faith? Get saturated. You want to improve your whatever skills in life. But if you want to set up the conditions for God to move in your life, get filled with His thoughts. Get that narrative. I've shared this message all over the world. People want a sense of identity and direction. I've been in communist China. What do they tell kids in communist China? Of course, the kids are changing. They're pushing back now. But communism has basically had this edict from Karl Marx. Take from each according to his ability, give to each according to his need. There's a false narrative in our country today that everybody should have a fair share of everything. But people are not motivated the same way, are they? Some will always have more than others. Now that doesn't mean that we live in greed. Generosity has to come from the heart. Governments that want to administrate equality never succeed. It has never succeeded. And what we must do is be a generation of generous people who are individually, morally governed by a discipline that's submitted to God. Do you understand that? I'm not trying to talk political philosophy. I'm talking about socioeconomic reality. Responsibility, motivate. I've heard this over and over from so many of you guys. The verse that I really want to focus on here, in addition to Romans 12:2, and this is where I want to come back. You park this thought. It would not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, and you may demonstrate what is the will of God. What is what? Good? Okay, it's good to do good, right? Acceptable? Wow, what's an acceptable good? It's something that would please the coach. Hey, I told you to do that drill. You did not only did a good job, it was acceptable to somebody because it was tuned into what they were thinking good looks like. But here's the trick. Here's the important part of that verse. And I've rarely heard any pastors explore this, or even theologians. The third part is perfect. Perfect. The good, the acceptable, the perfect. What are we talking about when we say perfect here? I knew you'd have the answer. Jesus. Brother. Jesus. Jesus did it all. Jesus is the perfect. Jesus is the be ye perfect even as I am perfect. The Greek word is based on the word teleos, or teleon in this case. And here's what it means. It's the completion of a process. It's the maturity of the process. We say something is perfect when that meal is ready when it's done perfect, when it's been cooked perfectly. Yeah? Well, God is doing something in our lives that's a lot like cooking. He's built something in you that's a unique set of ingredients under unique conditions. How do you know that fire is the way we're tested as well as purified? Not refrigeration. Fire. And fire is not pleasant. Neither is freezing. But fire is the way certain ingredients are what? Mixed, blended, put together. There's nothing like a meal that's been perfect. How about lasagna? Lasagna just has to be cooked perfectly. The good, the acceptable, then there's perfect lasagna. And it's perfect when things are mixed together that would not be mixed together except under fire. What God's doing in our lives today is preparing us to be complete. That's perfection in His mind, to be complete. If you got a Bible, turn to one more passage with me. I love this. 1 John chapter 3. And this is where God brings fatherhood back to an understanding for all of us. We're on a journey. And if you really think about it, we're not just at Spring Hill College in Mobile, Alabama. We're on a much larger journey, aren't we? We're 93 million miles from a solar furnace, from which if our trajectory were to vary by half a degree, we would freeze or fry. Light travels to us from that fiery furnace, the sun, at 186,000 miles per second. And it still takes 8.5 minutes to reach your retina. And in your retina, you have 120 million cones, 90 million rods. You have the most sophisticated visual receptor in the world right in your eye. There isn't a satellite the Pennington can make that's actually more sophisticated than your eye. And you're seeing things, so in a sense, through the connection to photons, you're able to see something 93 million miles away. That's pretty good eyesight. Huh? How about seeing stars that are emitting light that's light years away? You want a cool thought? You want a shocking thought? You will see light. If the sky is clear tonight, you will see light from stars tonight that came such a long distance at 186,000 miles per second that it's going to reach you tonight. And it's light that was emitted from those stars the night Christ was born in Bethlehem. That's how connected we are to the universe God has created and to each other. That's the beauty and the drama mystery of it all. So where are we on this journey? It's going to be revealed to us. Finish with me here by looking at 1 John chapter 3. And see how great a love the Father has bestowed on us, that we should be called children of God. And such we are. For this reason, the world does not know us because it did not know Him. Brothers, beloved, now we are children of God, but it has not yet appeared what we shall be. We know that when He appears, we will be like Him, because we will see Him just as He is. And everyone who has this hope, that's fixed on Him and purifies himself just as He is pure. Everyone who practices sin also practices lawlessness, for sin is lawlessness. But you know that He appeared in order to take away sin, and in Him there is no sin. Guys, we have a righteousness that comes by faith. God is the one who makes us right with Him through that love. He's simply called us to embrace it even as we embrace each other. I want to read this from one other version, the Message. Love the way they express this. What a marvelous love God as our Father has extended to us. Just look at this. We're actually called sons and daughters of God. That's who we really are. That's also why the world doesn't recognize us or sometimes even take our faith seriously. Because the world has no real idea who God is or what His plans are for you. But brothers, that's exactly who we are. We're God's children. And that's only the beginning. Who knows how this will all end up? We know that when Christ is openly revealed, not only will we see Him, but in seeing Him, we'll actually be made like Him. All of us are looking forward to His coming. So we have to stay ready. And we have to glisten in purity, because Jesus' life is the model for our own. Guys, we need each other more than ever before, because we're the people who are going to express the love of God as Father to another generation. If we carry out this journey, this mission, this calling that we've got together, then the beauty of that is going to be something that's going to change the world. And the world is waiting for you to reveal it to your families, your friends, your schools, and your neighborhood. That's what He's called us here for. And the beauty of all this is that God's got a special name for each one of us that will be revealed when we get home. He's got a name just for you. And just like the shirts that we're wearing tonight, He knows my name. And it's not just the name that your parents gave you or that this world knows you by. It's a name that reflects His very, very special love for you. And I want to thank you for letting me be a part of your journey, part of your journey to the love of the Father, and for letting me just share some time with you this weekend. Coach, Nikki, thank you